Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I am making a video about how you can make a headless website with a Next.js frontend and the WordPress and Gutenberg backend. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing we need to do to get started is to actually create the Next.js project. So I'm going to do that with the npx command, which you can paste into your terminal of choice. This will install the latest version of Next. My project is called Headless. I'm making a headless blog and site for that matter. So now it is installing everything. Okay, now we have everything installed, so we can cd into headless, and then we can do code because I want to open it in my editor. The first thing we need to do is create the connection between the WordPress site and the Next.js app. To do that, I always make a folder called lib, and then inside here we need an API file, api.js, where we basically need to write all the calls that we need to do to get posts and pages from WordPress and custom post types if you want that. I have a fresh install of WordPress here, and I very much enjoy using the GraphQL endpoint instead of the REST API endpoint. So I'm going to install the GraphQL plugin for WordPress. Let's see here. Install that one. Now we have this plugin installed. If we go to our website and then we just write GraphQL, we will see the GraphQL endpoint is active. We don't have anything here, so yeah, but it's working. GraphQL have their own IDE in WordPress, which you can use to make queries, so you don't have to manually write them. So here you can, basically if I want to create a posts or page query, I will just do page and then ID if I want to get a specific page, and pages if I want to get all the pages. And then I need the edges, the node, and then we can do title, for example, just so we can see something. If you do this, we can test it. And yeah, right now I only have a sample page that's default to WordPress, but here it basically returns one page. So I can start with making a home page, I guess, just as an example. So I will just do home, and then I will do a hello world, and then possibly an image. I don't have any images right now, so I'm just going to grab one from my PC that I can upload. I have a gradient that I was going to use for something here, which I downloaded from Unsplash. So I'm just going to use that. And then we'll just insert that. And then we have two blocks. I can make this a heading, a H1. Yeah, okay. Now we have a home page. And then we can just make a blog post. We already have one, hello world actually. We can just add an image here as well. I'll just do the same image. Update. Yes. Okay, so now we have one page and one post. We need to build out our GraphQL request in the Next application. The first thing we need is a constant, which should be the URL of or the GraphQL endpoint. So I'm just going to do headless dot GraphQL. This is our API URL, and then I already have a function that fetches or sends requests. Here we have the headers. The only header we need is the content type application JSON header. And then the response is just a normal fetch, which uses the API URL. And then it has a post request with the headers, which is the content type. And then the body is going to be a query and variable. So we have to write out each query as an own function. So yeah, we can start with a post function, for example. So if we want to get all post slugs, we can do a query like this. This is, as you can see, the GraphQL markup. I don't need any variables, I only want all the post slugs. This is to build the static Next.js app. We need all the slugs so we can map out everything, which I'm going to come back to when I make the post page. But yeah, get all post slugs is one function that we need. And here you can see that we use the fetch API, which is this function. And then the first parameter, which is the query, is this one. This is the query, and then we don't have any variables, so nothing is included if we don't include it in the function here. So yeah, this is the first query that we have, and then we are going to have a new query, which is get posts for home, where we can get all the posts we need for the home page, because I want to display some posts on the home page. This is also just a normal query. We are querying posts, the first 3, because I want 3 posts for my homepage. And we need the title, the slug, and the date, because I want to display this information. So we are not going to get any other information because I'm not requesting it. That's what's so nice with GraphQL. If we do a GET request to the REST API, we get all the data WordPress has on that particular post, but we don't need it, so we're not requesting it. So yeah, we can test this in the on the home page, and to do that we need to create a getStaticProps function, which is how you get the data in Next.js. And then we need to import from the library the getPostForHome function, which we have here. I'm going to prettify this. Yeah, here we are importing getPostForHome, which is this function, getPostForHome. We are using it here in the index. Here we are assigning posts to getPostForHome, and then we are passing the posts as props. So here we need to add the posts. So now we can use them inside our homepage. To test that this actually works, we can make a map. So we just do posts.map, and then we are going to map the node like this. And then we need to return an h2, for example, with the title node.title, and this should return, yeah, we only have one post. So if I now add a new post, test post, publish this one, if we now refresh, yeah, we get 2 posts. So this the endpoint works and the fetch works, which is nice. So now we need to design our app, which I'm going to do. I'm just going to set up a really simple example in the background, and then I'll return to show what I've done. Now you can see here that I have added some styling and some different text. And I am fetching 3 blog posts to my homepage. I have also made all the routes and all the files, so these blog posts actually work. So if I now press view all, for example, I come to the blog page where I have all the posts, and if I go to this post, I can read it. I just added some lorem ipsum text. Here is the date. And then you have related posts. I haven't styled anything. I haven't made a header or footer. I've just done the bare minimum. But this is just, if I go to my files and then the blog file, this is just HTML or dangerously set inner HTML. It renders the image. I have added the border radius in the code in the style. But yeah, it basically renders a figure, which is the styling from the WordPress side. So it has a figure and then it has an image. The disadvantage of this is, of course, that the image isn't optimized. Next.js has its own image optimization, a component called Next.js which you can read about in their documentation somewhere, I guess. It should be, yeah, here, next image, which is very good for optimizing images. So I want to use that image component for my blog posts, so my images are optimized. So how do we do that? That's what I'm going to show now. We basically need to create a parser and then replace the image, the HTML image tag, with the image component from Next. I haven't done this before, and I used something called HTML React Parser. So I'm going to use that again because I'm familiar with it. This is the one we are going to be using. So we need to install the dependency first in the project. So I'm going to quit the project, install the dependency, and then start it back up again. In the files we need to import the all the stuff that we need, basically, from the parser. So what I'm going to do is import this, parse and DOM2React from HTML React parser. So first, if we just want to use the parser instead of dangerously set inner HTML, we can do that this way, and then only pass the parse and nothing else, and this should work as a replacement. Yeah, you can see it does the same thing, except now it's not dangerously set inner HTML that parses it. It is the HTML React parser, but we want to switch out the images, the image tags for Next images. So to do that, we need to write a replacement rule for the parser, and we want to replace the image. So in our blog function, we need this. Now this is the replace image rule, where we replace two things. We replace the figure around the image tag with nothing, so it's completely gone. And then we replace any image tag with the image component from Next. So yeah, basically what we're doing here is the name is the HTML tag, so the figure is the tag, and then WP block image is the class. So if it's a figure and it has a class of WP block image, then we have a match. And then we just return nothing, basically. We return no tags, and this is to remove the figure because we don't need it. And then for the image tag, we look for any image in the content, and we replace it with the image component, and then we use the source from the image, we use the width from the image, we use the height from the image, and then we can use the alt text from the image if the image has an alt text. If not, you can write your own universal alt text, I guess. But yeah, you should always have an alt text. The reason we do width and height is because the image component needs the width and the height to work properly. So now we can do this, and then we need to include the rule in the actual parser. So we can do parse blog content and then replace image. So now if we refresh, we can see that everything looks quite similar, but if we look at the actual image code here, you can see that this is the image code that Next.js image component returns. So now we have a span and an image, which is optimized. So yeah, it looks the same as it should do, but now we have an optimized image instead. This is the first step you can take to integrate WordPress and Next. And the next thing you can do is import or fetch pages and show them as content. So you can build out entire pages in the editor with all the different blocks you want and need. Then we can parse them with the HTML to React parser. And then we can replace images and so on. And then we are also going to import the Gutenberg style into the project. We can create an empty page in Next, and then we can make it in the Gutenberg editor, and then we can render it in the Next app. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to make an HTML to React component in our project that we use to render all the content. So yeah, we need a new components folder. Components. And then I want to call it HTML to React.js as the file. And then here we're going to make our parser. So yeah, let's do it. Here we have the base code that we need in the parser. We're just using the link from Next, the link component. And then we are importing the parser from HTML React parser. And then we are making a function called HTML to React, where the content here is what we are going to replace. So we are going to replace the links and images, but we are starting with the links. And then we are returning the parsed content. What I have done now is I have made a slug.js file in the root directory of the project, which fetches all the page slugs, builds all the routes, and then gets the page that you are trying to enter, basically. So here you can see we are passing in the page as a prop, and then here is some like header, like metadata, and then in the main part we have our component HTML to React, which passes the page content to the component. So if I now go to /home, which is the slug of the page that we made, yeah, I get this. Now this is unstyled, and to get the Gutenberg styling that we need, we have to add the Gutenberg style sheets. The best way to see that it's unstyled is to add first a grid, maybe. So we can just add a columns, I guess it's called, the columns block, 50-50, Then we'll add some quick content here. A paragraph with some hello text. And then an image. Basically the same image everywhere. Then we'll just remove this image. Okay, so now in the Gutenberg editor we have a grid or columns, but here in our content we are not getting it. It's stacked because we don't have any styling. We have all the styling like names, VP block column, VP block columns. We have all the markup and the class names, but we don't have the actual styling yet. To import this styling from Gutenberg, I have made it really easy. I have actually published an npm package called Gutenberg styling or something. I don't quite remember what I called it. Gutenberg styles. So you can just add this to your project. This package here is always going to be updated with the latest release of Gutenberg, so you always have the freshest style. This is version 12.5.4, which is the same version as Gutenberg is in. So yeah. What I need to do now is add or import, or first install it actually. Install. And then start up the project again. And then in the app file, I need to import the styles. Like so. We have the style.css and the theme.css. I have written all the different ways you can install it. There's probably more, but I have written in the CSS way. And for Next.js you have this, which is basically what I just did. But yeah, now I have imported it. So now as you can see, we have the Gutenberg styling as well. So the columns are styled in the right way, but the content is still very wide. To get the alignment to work in the right way, you most likely need to define some variables, some CSS variables that Gutenberg uses in its styling. As you can see here, I have defined 4 variables: the horizontal spacing, the align default width, which is the default width of the content, and the global spacing, and then also a align wide width. All of these variables, like for example this one, I have gotten from the CSS of my page basically. So I just went into the page and inspected and copied the variables needed and then changed them as I want to. So right now the width is set to 800 and both of these are default width. So if I go into the editor and I edit this column to be wide, if I now refresh here, it's going to be wide. And if I do full width, it should just bleed out completely. Yeah. So you need to tinker with the variables here. And also I had to add some extra styling here for the different allied wine classes. But I'm going to leave this as an open GitHub repository. So if you just want to create the default pages, you can copy it from my repository, basically. So now if I just set it back to none, it should have the standard width. So if I go back to the editor and refresh, it's going to have the standard width of 800 pixel. And if you want to change the standard width, then you have to go to the variables again in the CSS file and change it. So if I wanted to be 1000 pixels wide as standard, I could do that, and now it's 1000 pixels. And this is how you can build in Gutenberg and then show it as a Next.js site, basically. So now you can start to add blocks, images, basically everything. And then, yeah, you can go from there. So yeah, that's how you get started with building a website with Next.js and WordPress and Gutenberg. I don't really know how far I should take this, or I find it hard to know how much code I'm going to show and how far I'm going to take the guide. This guide is a good starting point for what you need to do, like the basics to get it to work, and then you have to build from there to set the home page, add your own styling, yeah, basically everything else. But if you want me to make more videos about how I work further with the project, how I integrate it more with advanced custom fields, for example, and SEO work, then drop a comment, I guess, and ask for it. And yeah, if enough people request it, then I will probably make some more videos about it. But I feel like this is a good baseline for how you can set up your own project. And as I said, I'm going to link the GitHub repository for this little project that I did here. So you can just copy it or start from there if you want to. So you have like, yeah, the basic stuff you need, so you don't have to code everything from the bottom. And yeah, apart from that, let me know if this kind of videos is helpful and if I should make more of them. If you have any constructive criticism about things that I did wrong, if I didn't explain stuff well enough, or if I went too fast on some things, leave a comment and let me know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I see you next time. Bye.